Welcome back to One IMTG. Let's talk about Doom, King of Latveria. First, let's take a look at the commander. This is Doctor Doom, King of Latveria. The card is for a colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red. You get a 3/3 legendary creature, human noble villain. Doctor Doom says, whenever you discard 1 or more land cards, each opponent loses 2 life. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target villain you control gains menace until end of turn. It connives. For those who don't know, connive is a mechanic where you draw a card and then you discard a card. Now, if you discard a non-land card, the creature will get a +1/1 counter on it. Now, the thing with Doom is when you go to discard a land, the way it's worded, talking about whenever, means that every instant that you discard a land, it's going to drain the table. It's going to drain all your opponents for 2 life. Now, looks there can be slightly deceiving because that means if you discard a bunch of lands in one sort of move, you'll still only drain the table for 2 life. But if you can do it 1 instance at a time, discard something, discard the land, and then you move to another step and you discard it in another way, then you can get those instances, each one, if you know what I mean. So be careful when you do that. Don't just discard all of your lands in one go, because you'll still only get the 1 trigger. That part is important. Out of the 4 precons that Marvel brought to Magic recently, I found myself asking which ones it was I actually wanted. And after much careful consideration, I realized I only really wanted Doctor Doom. I wanted the King of Latveria. Why? Because I feel that the character speaks more to me. For one, he uses Grixis, which is a very powerful combination of colours in Magic. You have access to counterspells in blue, you have access to burn damage in red, and you have access to the all-powerful black with insane removal and rituals. So that's one reason. Another reason is I kind of relate to Doctor Doom. I have his kind of ambition. And he's just cool. He's one of the characters in the Marvel Universe that always has a plan and rules with the Iron Fist. I think he's a very cool character. So those are the reasons why I chose it. I couldn't tell you if I like his ability just yet, because I've only had a couple of matches with him so far. But let's get into the meat of the video. What I want to talk about today is a few cards that I discarded from Doom's deck Precon, and a few cards that I added so that I can share with you and you can decide if they should go in your Doom Precon. So let's go into it. First, I'm going to talk about the cuts that I made. Now, I won't go over all the cuts because there are a lot. I'll talk about 8, and then I'll talk about which 8 I replaced them with. First up on the list, Superior Foes of Spider-Man. This card reads, it's 2 colorless and a red. It's a human rogue villain, and it's a 3/3. It has trample, which is always a good start. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may exile the top card of your library. If you do, you may play that card until you exile another card with this creature. This kind of filtering I didn't really want. Why? It's because mana value 4 or greater. For me, it's too limiting. I don't want to play too many slow spells in the Doctor Doom deck, in any deck. I want my deck to be at least a little competitive, and when you have more and more spells that are 4 mana or greater, it's really going to slow you down. Imagine drawing this in an opening hand. So, this is my first cut. Next, I cut the Syphon Mind. Now, this is a sorcery for 3 colorless and a black. Expensive, again. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded this way. It's a good effect, but it's still 4 mana. You still have to get going. It's some card draw, but I couldn't justify it, especially with the things I added. So that goes too. Next one. I took out Night's Whisper. This one's a sorcery, colorless and a black. You draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. Now this one is debatable for me. It could go back in. At 2 mana, I can justify losing 2 life for 2 cards. It's good. Will it go back in my deck? I'm not sure yet, but I took it out for now. The next one was Abomination. Abomination World Ravager. He's a massive 7 colorless and 1 red mana. He's a legendary creature, Gamma Berserker villain, and he's a 10/10, which is huge. Got a huge creature in this Doom deck right here. And he has Menace and Trample, and he also has Mayhem. His Mayhem cost is 4 and a red. Now, if you remember Mayhem, you may cast this card from your graveyard for 4 and red if you discarded it this turn. So, it does fit with the Connive theme. It does. But all I could think about was when you're in a game of Commander and you're trying to get ahead, you draw this in your opening hand and it is going to stall you a lot. If you're lucky enough not to draw in your opening hand, sure, maybe you can connive and then you can cast it for its Mayhem and get a huge 10/10. But for me, it needed haste, so I took it out. The next one, Helmut Zemo, Mastermind. Now, 2 colorless and a blue. He's a legendary creature, human noble villain, and he's a 2/2. He says, whenever Helmut Zemo attacks, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with mana value less than or equal to his power from your graveyard. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. If you cast a spell this way, put a 1/1 counter on Helmut Zemo. Now, the problem with this guy, he's got a good effect, don't get me wrong, but the problem with this guy is he's just a 2/2. Okay, so that means that you're only able to cast those spells from your graveyard at 2 mana or below. Sure, you can get Doom to help him connive and put some counters on him, and maybe eventually he's going to grow big and he's going to be able to cast your spells from your graveyard for you. But for me, he doesn't protect himself and he's squishy at 2/2. And for me, he can't move fast enough. Not in a real Commander game. Okay, the next cut is Kang Dynasty. It's 3 colorless and it's a blue. It's an enchantment, Saga. It reads for phases 1 and 2. For each opponent, tap up to 1 target creature that player controls. Goad those creatures until your next turn. Whenever any of those creatures deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. And then the other one, number 3, target creature you control gets +1/1 until end of turn for each card in your hand and can't be blocked this turn. This for me was a difficult one to cut because it's drawing you cards and it's also letting you get a clean hit. Because for me, this is goading, and this kind of diluted the direction I wanted Doom to go in. I wanted to start focusing on Doom's drain game when he was discarding cards. I think it makes much more terrifying angles of playing the real villain when you can just throw away your own resources and still damage people at the table. But this was one of the cuts I made. It could go back in. I'm experimenting. Next one is the Killmonger. In my opinion, this one is a hard cut for this deck. Let's read him. So he's 2 colorless and a red. Legendary creature, human villain. And he's a 3/3. He has trample. Whenever Killmonger attacks, he gets +1/1 for each artifact defending player controls. Whenever Killmonger deals damage to a player, that player sacrifices an artifact of their choice, and you create a treasure token. Now, he's not bad, but the problem is he's quite situational. So he's going to be almost entirely limited to attacking opponents who are playing artifacts. But what if your opponent plays no artifacts? For me, he's not bad, but for my strategy with Doom, he's a hard cut. Because trample is good, but this kind of effect, I couldn't see a use for it. The last cut I made was this guy. So this is the Puppet Master, String Puller. For 2 colorless and a red, you get a 2/4 human artificer villain. And he says, whenever you attack, goad target creature an opponent controls. It can't block this turn. Whenever 1 or more goaded creatures deal combat damage to one of your opponents, create a treasure token. So you can see another theme there, goading. And that's all good. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I'm just saying that Doom, his strategy on this deck, it seemed kind of all over the place. So I wanted to focus in. I wanted to focus on a couple of strategies, not 15. So I'm going to show you now what I replaced them with. Let me show you what I added to Doctor Doom. So the first one is Teferi, the Master of Time. Teferi is 2 colorless and 2 blue. He's a planeswalker. He starts with 3 loyalty counters, and he says, you may activate loyalty abilities of Teferi, Master of Time, on any player's turn, anytime you could cast an instant. That's huge. His +1 is draw a card, then discard a card. Now, I don't want to go into the rest of his abilities, but that first one is what matters. You draw, you discard. It's going to make more sense later, so make sure you stick around until the end of the video where I talk about one of the prize cards in this deck. But you see where this is going. I want to discard. We discard a land, we deal 2 damage across the table. Teferi replaces that card. Draw, discard. He's number 1. Next, this one could be quite obvious. This is Norman Osborn from the Spider-Man set. And Norman Osborn is one of the transforming villains. So he's 1 colorless and 1 blue. He's 1/1, and he's a human scientist villain. First, Norman Osborn can't be blocked. Whenever Norman Osborn deals combat damage to a player, he connives. So you can get 1 conniving trigger from Doom if you're going to attack with Norman Osborn, and he'll gain menace as well. Not that he needs it because he can't be blocked, apparently. So you could push Norman Osborn up to a 1/1, or use your discarding land to deal damage before he even connects. Then he connects and he does it again. That's 2 instances of your discarding land effect for Doom. If Doom is on the table, that's potentially 4 damage spread across the table. And it doesn't end there. When he transforms into the green goblin, and he can transform for 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red, which is a good deal because he's a 3/3 and he's a goblin human villain. He has flying and menace. I love it. Very good keywords there. And he says, spells that you cast from your graveyard, cost 2 less to cast. And his other ability is especially useful in this deck. So he's got the Goblin formula. Each non-land card in your graveyard has Mayhem. The Mayhem cost is equal to its mana cost. It's huge. So all your cards in your graveyard that you're putting in there from doing your conniving, they are becoming fuel for the Green Goblin. That is insane value in this deck. So each card having Mayhem that's in your graveyard while the Goblin is on the field, it's costing 2 less to cast. You can just cast it from your graveyard. It's great value. And it's good synergy, very good synergy. Next one, which I haven't managed to play, but he's one of the first changes I made, is the Green Goblin. And he's Green Goblin Nemesis. So 2 colorless, black and a red, you get a 3/3 flying goblin human villain. Whenever you discard a non-land card, put a 1/1 counter on target goblin you control. Whenever you discard a land card, create a tapped treasure token. So you imagine we've got Doom on the field, and he's going to sap the table for 2 whenever we discard land. The Green Goblin here, he's going to reward us whatever we do. Yeah, he's going to replace that land with mana in terms of the treasure, or he's going to make himself or the other Green Goblin stronger. It's amazing value. Easy additions to this deck. The next one is more thematic. I have tried it in a game. The pumpkin bombs. The Green Goblin needs his pumpkin bombs, right? Although that is the Hobgoblin, I believe. But I could be wrong. Maybe Green Goblin used them too. Anyway, this is an artifact, and it's 1 colorless and 1 red. It says you can tap it, so there's no mana cost. You just tap it to discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards, then put a fuse counter on this artifact. It deals damage equal to the number of fuse counters on it to a target opponent. They gain control of the artifact. So basically, for 2 mana, you're going to discard 2 of your cards, which, if you've got Doom out, could be a land, and you could deal 2 damage across the table. If you've got the other Green Goblin out, you discard land using this. You can create treasure, or you can put 1/1 counters on him. You can get a lot going on here by using an artifact like this. And then you're going to draw on top of that. You've got draw effects or something, it's just going to increase the value of this card even more. I mean, the fact that it goes to another player, but you choose who that goes to, who gains control of it. So you're more in control of it than some cards in this game. It doesn't pass to a random opponent. You pass it to whoever you like. Maybe it's useful for them, maybe not. But either way, it's going to ping for 1 damage. It's going to go to them, and they either use it or they don't. It's just basically 2 mana for a bit of value, really quickly. Okay, next one is my own personal touch, and I love when I draw this in a Doom deck. I really do. This is the Library of Leng. Now, I pulled this over in Panu's shop in Phuket in Thailand. How are you doing, Panu? And the Library of Leng is a 1 mana colorless artifact, and it says you have no maximum hand size. Bonus. It doesn't really matter. What the effect here is this. If an effect causes you to discard a card, Doom, Goblin, discard it. But you may put it on top of your library instead of into your graveyard. Do you know how good this is? So let's say that you got Doom on the table, or the Goblin, and you got the Library of Leng on your board. Yeah, and then your effect of Doom is when you attack, one of your villains connives. So you connive. Okay, so you draw, and then you discard. Okay, so you draw a card, it could be what you need, maybe not, whatever. But then you go to discard, and that's the effect that Doom is giving you, okay? The effect is making you discard something because it's a connive ability. But the thing when you got a library on the board is you can basically discard it and put it back on top of your pile if you don't want to discard it, but you'll still get the effect. So if it's a land and you discard it, you're still going to get that effect. You're still going to sap the damage, and you can put the land back on top if you really need that land. And it's the same if you've got other lands in your hand that have basic land cycling. You do the basic land cycling for 1 or 2 mana, whatever you want. That card goes to discard from your hand. When you go to get a card from your library, take the card from your library, discard the basic land cycling card, you're still going to get that effect. Doom's still going to trigger, but you can put that on top of your library to keep drawing your land. Amazing addition. Pick one up. You can get to Magic Madhouse. Go to Magic Madhouse right now and type in Library of Leng. Pick yourself up a coffee. Magic Madhouse is I'm affiliated with them. You can find a great assortment of cards on there. No extra cost to you. Just pop on there. I'll put in my code, and you'll be able to get vast different cards on there. Loads of singles, lots of stuff to choose from. I'll leave my code in the description of this video. Okay, we've got 2 more. Sorry, 3 more. So this next one is the Ravenous Wrecking Crew. Now they're not a hard addition, but they can be extremely useful, especially when you've got your board set up. When you've got Doom on the table. Let's see. So this is X, colorless, a black and a red. So it's not difficult to cast. Only 2 color fixing. And for that you get a legendary creature, Human Villain. They are a 3/3. And sorry, they're a 2/2, not 3/3. What am I talking about? And it says the Ravenous Wrecking Crew enters with X/1/1 counters on it, so you can immediately pump it up. That's good. When the Wrecking Crew enters, choose up to X, so whatever counters that you've put on it, that's the effect you're going to get. Discard a card, then draw a card. You discard your land, you draw a card. And remember, if you do that, you've got the Library of Leng down. You can discard the land, and put it back on your top, and you can draw it back. Target opponent loses 2 life. Small value is okay. Destroy target token, or each player sacrifices a creature of their choice. You got a Wrecking Crew, certainly, all in one. It's such a great addition. Such a great addition to the deck, honestly. So thematic as well. Okay, next one. I'm not sure if it's the MVP. I haven't actually brought it out in a game yet, but he was straight in there because I drew this from my pre-release, and it is MODOK. I think people don't realize the potential of this in a Doom deck. So, for 3 colorless and 2 black, so he is pricey, but he can change the game, and that's how I can justify him. So he's a legendary artifact creature and villain. He has flying and lifelink, which are 2 excellent tags. Excellent. He's only a small body, he's a 2/2, but let's read on. So he has pay 3 life, MODOK Connives. Activate only during your turn. And his second ability is creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. This guy is amazing in a Doom deck. If you've got a way to keep your life high, or maybe you're in the end game, or maybe you just want to get ahead and you want to draw cards and discard, this can do some real damage. Imagine you have Doom on the table, okay? And imagine you've got Library of Leng down on the table. So, remember what I said? Doom is your commander. He's going to be draining the table every time you discard a land, right? Library of Leng is going to allow you to put that from your hand, discard, but put it on top of your library. So you can either gain with MODOK, and you see what I mean? You draw, you discard. You draw, you discard. Because MODOK, you can literally just keep paying 3 life to connive. You can drain whole tables with this. And the thing is, MODOK, he's got lifelink. So he can be used in various situations. You just want to discard, you want to fill your hand, you want to drain the table, then you want to attack with MODOK. You know, if you've got a way to pump him up. If not, he connives anyway, he can pump himself up. It's just an amazing addition to this deck. I strongly recommend that you pick up a copy while it's cheap, because I think people click on, I think it's going to go up in price. You can get your copy from Magic Madhouse. Woden suggests. The last edition. This could be the MVP, and I have already used them in the deck. He's nasty. Doctor Octopus, Master Planner. I always liked Doctor Octopus in the series. You know, when I first saw this card, I thought it was way too high of a cost. But then I started to get into discarding strategies, and I realized, especially in Doom, this guy is just made for Doctor Doom. Let's read him. He's basically one of the trump cards in this deck. He's 5 colourless, 1 blue, 1 black, so his colour fixing is easier than some of the cards, which I like. You get, for that, a 4/8 villain, so he's very tough. And he's a human scientist villain. He says, other villains you control get +2/+2, so he's already pumping up your board. Your maximum hand size is 8, I guess, for 8 tentacles or whatever, right? Whatever's going on there, I'm not sure. I don't know enough of the lore about Doc Ock, to be honest. At the beginning of your end step, if you have fewer than 8 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. I rest my case. You discard, you discard, you discard, you discard, and if Doc Ock is on the table, you just fill your hand back all the way back up to 8, because you draw the difference in what you have in your hand compared to 8 cards, and that is an absolutely amazing effect. And the bonus is that, here's the key for me, this is not on your draw phase, this is on your end step. So basically, Doc Ock is creating value for you as soon as he hits the board. This is one of the creatures that I overlooked, to be honest. I overlooked, and the reason was because his high mana cost. I tried to stay away from creatures and spells with super high mana costs. I generally have a rule of trying to keep it to 3 or 4 cards in the whole deck that have mana costs like above 5, because it can really slow you down and it can really disable you, especially at commander table when things can start to move really fast. But I have to say, Doc Ock, I think, in my opinion, he changes things on your board. He doesn't change the game, but it changes things on your board. And those are the cuts and additions that so far I've made to Doctor Doom. And I say that, but I've literally made these changes, and there's still this many cards that I actually took out of Doctor Doom. You see, I wanted a strategy where I was going to discard and drain the table. So what's my conclusion to the Doctor Doom deck? My conclusion is, basically, he's excellent. If you can hone his strategy, and you can literally give him a focus, okay, you're much more likely to be able to control the table. The things to remember is, Doctor Doom, he wants to control the table, and he can basically do that in one of 2 ways. You can drain the table by throwing away your own resources, or you can create your army of villains and connive and make them pump them up and give them menace. I veered away from the strategy of creating lots of villains, and I just want to drain the table by discarding and bringing it back, and discarding and bringing it back. I'm of the opinion that Doom should be more of a machine than a commander of villains. In the story, in the comics, Doom does. He takes control of many of the heroes and lots of the villains, and uses them and things like this. But in my opinion, Doom, for me, is played by controlling the table. And if you build him right, you're really going to be able to control the table, probably turn 5, turn 6, because you get your pieces in there, and it works really well. Anyway, guys, I've not shared all my changes. I've just shared 8. I am interested to see what you take out and what you add. And I will update this video again at some point and talk about some more changes that I made. Anyway, on a final note, any cards that you need, including Doc Ock, MODOK, whatever it is that you need, get yourself over to Magic Madhouse. It really is a great place to pick up cards, singles, packs. Woden out.